Paul's childhood crush. Once upon a time, in the slums of Katwa, a teenage boy was enslaved by love. Call it some sort of secret admiration, although it's hard to define at such a very tender age. The kind of love that gets you sneaking around corners to have a glance at your crush. Paul was unknowingly in love with Carol. He intimates to me that on a few occasions, they had some trivial conversations with Carol. Conversations that drove him into overwhelming fantasy. Although Paul was from a humble background, his dad was no pauper, but a man who worked his arms off to put food on the table, even though he didn't always succeed. As town dwellers without a permanent house, but just tenants like many, time came and they had to shift to another place under circumstances beyond their own control. Their landlord had sold the place to a fat cat who evicted them under short notice. As a young boy with no potent whatsoever in the matters of their family, he had to play along like a sheep following a herd of cattle as they shifted to miles away, leaving Carol behind. I didn't even get the chance to say goodbye to her. Paul reveals in a tender, heartfelt tone. When he left the vicinity, it didn't occur to him that he would one day return to the place of his departure. Although he didn't have much to hang on to, he did his best to keep the little memories of them together alive for a few years before they became fuzzy. As time went by, it became crystal clear to him that he was never to see Carol again. But a decade later, he returned to the place he once called home. Clad in coffee brown pants and a check shirt, Clark's moccasins adorned his feet with a nice haircut he copied from global music star Sean Diddy Combs, a.k.a. P. Diddy. The whole place looked really changed until he set sights on a familiar territory. It was the Black Gate to Mr. Kiemba's home with faded written words of, "Be aware of dogs. Don't enter without knocking." Mr. Kiemba was Carol's tough dad during our early days, Paul reminisces. He hesitantly made a brisk knock at the gate. However, the first response being a very loud bark from a dog inside nearly had him scatter into the nearby Kafunda before a little boy, about 12 or 13 years of age, opened the gate. A simple, "How are you?" and straight to the point. "Is Carol home?" he asked with a simple wish at the back of mind that Carol's papa doesn't suddenly come out. He acknowledges to always been nervous when meeting his friends' parents, especially when it comes to friends of the opposite sex. "I'm sure you all understand why." Anyway, the boy said, "Yes, she's around," before inviting him in. It seems he'd been brought up well. "So who should I tell her that is here to see her?" "You didn't tell me your name, sir, and I have never seen you before," the boy asked him. "I am called Paul," he answered as he nodded his head sideways in wonder of what school the kid attends. Kid seemed smart on judging by his character and speech. He then entered the house, and in a few seconds, there was a hand patting a curtain in the windows with a forehead peeping on the outside. After 5 minutes of waiting, Carol finally came out in tight blue jeans and a sky blue top with shot white sleeves. Her lips part in a radiant smile as she walked towards him. "Oh my God, is that really you? Carol?" Paul gaped as he stretched out his arms for a fat hug. "I never thought I would ever see you again," he added. "Neither did I," Carol responded as they broke into joy before hugging the second time in less than 20 seconds, and she invited him. "Looked at you. You've all grown so tall. I could see you even have beards, woo-woo," she said. Brown as ever, though tall this time, round with a curvy body and plaited hair braids. Judging by the photos I've seen in Paul's phone, if Alicia Keys defines beauty, Carol would be alternative definition. She's a force to be reckoned with. Paul was treated a glass of crispy orange juice and scrambled eggs as they chatted out in a jolly conversation full of the present, recent times, and a few reminiscences from their good old days. As the clock struck 1700 hours, Paul cut the visit. He didn't want Carol's flocks to find him around as they returned from work. He says conversations with such people are fearfully awkward. As we speak, having exchanged digits, Carol's contact is literally always at the top of Paul's WhatsApp chat history. It's less than 2 weeks now, and they have already agreed on a date to meet for dinner. He, however, isn't sure whether to call it a dinner date or just dinner. He admits to meeting other girls during the course of his life away, but insists his feelings for Carol remained unchanged. I guess it's true what they say that first cut is the deepest. He wants to ask Carol out, but he's afraid she may drop that famous but rather very infamous line of, "I'm seeing someone." I'm sure almost all guys have been told that line before, just as I'm sure that almost every lady reading this has dropped it on someone. What should Paul do? What would you do if you were Paul? To be continued. Hi everyone. This is Robert K. Circles. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast today. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, I'd be incredibly grateful if you could take a moment to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Give us a like on your favorite podcast platform. Leave a comment letting us know what you thought. We love hearing your feedback. And if you know someone who might enjoy the show, please share it with them. Your support means the world to me and helps us reach more listeners. Thanks again for being a part of the Robert K. Circles community. Until next time, take care.